I believe in Hashem, I trust in Hashem. There never is that I am alone and I'm on my own. I believe and I trust in Hashem because I understand that He's holding my hand and every step is perfectly planned. He's holding me tight, so I'll be all right. I believe and I trust. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehakol niyeh b'dvarei. Amen. We are standing now about 3 weeks before Yud Aleph Nisan, the Rebbe's 120th Yom Huledes, his birthday. And every year, people want to bring a birthday present, like you bring to anyone. For sure you want to bring one to the Rebbe. But because it's the Rebbe, it's much different. First of all, if your friend has a birthday, it's his birthday, not yours. When a Rebbe has a birthday, it's a birthday of Klal Yisrael, because the word Rebbe, Reish Beis Yud, stands for Rosh B'nai Yisrael. That's what a Rebbe is. He's the head of all the Yidden. So the Rebbe his birthday is ours. So we, just like we make a hachlata for our own birthday, we make a hachlata for the Rebbe's birthday as a gift. Especially, the Rebbe said, you know what's my best gift? If you add in learning Torah, doing mitzvahs, Avos Yisrael, doing what you can, something extra, that's the best birthday present for me. So now is the time for us to try to figure out what achlata each one of us are going to take for the Rebbe's birthday. Somebody once told the Rebbe, I make a achlata and it doesn't last. I take upon myself to do something, it doesn't work, it doesn't happen. A guy once said to his friend, my hachlata and my birthday are so much alike. They both last just for one day. Why is it sometimes we make hachlata and it lasts for a day or maybe 2 days? So the Rebbe told someone once, if you take a hachlata, don't take something too big. Take something which you think you can do. Something which is more than what you did before. That's why it's a hachlata. It's something extra, but not too much. Because when you take too much, it will be hard for you to keep it. To another person, the Rebbe once said, who asked the Rebbe, what should I do? It's very hard for me to make my hachlata. It's so hard to take hachlata. The Rebbe said, you know what? You think that a hachlata has to be forever. I'm making a hachlata now, that I'm going to do a certain thing, and I have to do this every day forever. The Rebbe said you could make a hachlata to do something for a period of time, for a week, for a month, for a year. You don't have to make a hachlata that goes from now and forever. So you could take it for a certain amount of time. Or you could say 1 hour of the day, I'm going to be very careful on a certain thing. That's another idea. A third idea that Rebbe once gave to someone about making a hachlata, that as soon as you make the hachlata, start doing it. Even a little bit of it. For example, what if you make a hachlata that every day from now till Yud Aleph Nisan, you're going to learn a Mishnah by heart every day. Li neder. it's always important to say bli neder when you make a achlata. No promise. You're going to try. You're going to do your best. So if a person makes a hachlata and he wants to keep, the Rebbe said, do something of it right away. For example, if you're going to learn Mishnayos every day, right now take a Mishnah, study one line, one part of it. And when you start doing Begashmias, you actually do even part of it, it's going to help that all the days coming, you should be able to carry it out. And by the way, when we give a birthday present to the Rebbe, we should know that the Rebbe gives us back more than just a birthday present. And not just one day a year. The Rebbe gives us a whole year. The Rebbe takes care of us. The Rebbe benches us. He thinks about you the whole time. The Rebbe is with us the whole time, just like a shepherd takes care of his sheep. The Rebbe does not stop taking care of every one of us. So I have a story to tell you where you're going to see how much a Rebbe cares for every Yid. And sometimes the Rebbe will go out of his way, many times, go out of his way to save a Yid. This story happened in the days of the Tzemach Tzedek. There was a chassid, Rebbe the Shoichet. He lived in Romania, which is like 850 miles away from Lubavitch in Russia. And he used to come to the Tzemach Tzedek. He was by the Tzemach Tzedek a couple of times. And in the later years, he would spend time by the sons of the Tzemach Tzedek. So this chassid, Rebbe the Shoichet, was once on his way back home from Lubavitch to Romania. As he was traveling back home, he passed by a large city, and they told him that in this large city there is a Rav, who's a chassid of the Tzemach Tzedek, and he's very, very old. In fact, he was also by the Mittler Rebbe, and maybe even saw the Alter Rebbe. So Rebbe decided, you know what? I want to go pay him a visit. And he found out where he lives, and they said, you can't go to him. He's so old and so weak. There's only one time a week that people can go to the Rav. And when is that? Shabbos for Shalosh Chodesh. Towards the end of the day, people come to his house, and the Rav says Chassidus, or he tells a story. So Beryl the Shoichet decided, I'll stay for Shabbos in this city, so I can go see this Rav. I want to see a chassid who was so many years by the Rebbeim. When he came to the house of this old Rav, the place was packed. People filled the house from wall to wall. And the Rav was already in the middle of telling a story. But because Rebbe was so far back behind the people, and the Rav spoke so quietly, and his voice was so weak, Beryl could not hear a single word. But he did notice on the face of the Rav that the Rav looked like tears coming down. And he saw everyone sitting around and is very, very interested in the story that he was telling. After Havdalah, he went over to the Rav and he shook his hand, Shalom Aleichem, and introduced himself. He said he's coming from Romania. He was by Lubavitch, and now he's his way back home. What? The Rav said. You traveled all the way from Romania to Lubavitch? I'm so proud of you. You're so special. It is known that the Rebbeim always appreciated when Chassidim came to visit, especially those who came from very far, like from Romania or Bessarabia. That's a place in between. That's, I think, Moldova, not far from Ukraine. And the Rebbeim were very proud of such Chassidim, because in those days to travel, it was so risky, so dangerous. It was mamish sakanas nefashis. So people who went were very much appreciated. And that's why the Rav was so proud of Beryl the Sheikhet. Then Beryl said to him, but I'm so sorry I missed out on your story. I couldn't hear. I wish I would hear the story. He says, I'll tell it to you. And the Rav told him a story. The story of the Tzemach Tzedek. And the story goes like this. It says, once there was a group of Hasidim sitting in the Beis Medrash of the Tzemach Tzedek, and they were making Chazara, reviewing the Maimer Chassidus from the Rebbe. When suddenly, the Shamish of the Tzemach Tzedek came in and pointed to a certain Chassid, let's call him David, and said, David, the Rebbe wants to see you. David went into the Rebbe's room, stood there with their cheretz, the way you stand before a Rebbe, and the Rebbe gave him some instructions to do, and he left. He did not come back to the Chassidim till a few days later. Everyone understood that the Rebbe probably sent him on a shlichus, on a mission to take care of something. So when he came back, the Chassidim asked him, "No, David, can you share with us where you were, what happened? Come on, please." They started to beg him, "Do us a favor, please, with a cherry on top." Okay, if there's a cherry on top, you mean be my best friend? Okay. So he says, I'll tell you what the Rebbe told me when he called me in. He says, when I came into the Rebbe's room, the Rebbe said to me that he wants to send me to a certain Paritz who is known as to be a terrible Rasha, a powerful man, and a very big Jew hater. And the Rebbe told me he lives in this town, and that I should go to him, and I should deliver a message to him, and I should immediately leave after I give the message. What was the message? The Rebbe said, tell him like this. Der Rebbe hat gesagt, es ist schon Zeit, Tshuva zu tun. The Rebbe said, it is already time for you to do teshuvah. It's time for you to do teshuvah. That's what the Rebbe said to tell him. And leave. I said to the Rebbe, I would gladly go, but I'm scared of this guy. No Yid ever entered his palace. In front of his palace, he has guards with ammunition. He has big, gigantic dogs, wild and dangerous dogs. No one can make it through alive. I mean, even if someone makes it through alive and comes into the palace and will say such words to the pirates, he would say that this person is really cuckoo and meshuggah. And surely he'll kill him. And the Rebbe said, that's why I'm going to give you a secret code. You know, there is such a thing called Shemos Kedoshim, hidden names Those who learn Kabbalah, learn a lot of Torah, they know about it. Tzaddikim know about it. Tzaddikim use it sometimes. He says, I'm going to give you a Shem Kadosh, a holy name. And you're going to use this name. Think about it from when you enter the property of the pirates until you leave. And I guarantee you that nothing will happen to you. You'll be 100% safe. So I took the shlichus, I accepted it, the Rebbe told me, and I went to the pirates. When I came in front of his house, I see these big, gigantic dogs, these guards with rifles. The dogs were barking. You can't even get close to them. But as soon as I thought the secret code, the Shem Kadosh, the dog stopped barking, got down on the ground. The guards moved aside and made way for me to go straight into the palace. I came into the palace and I saw the pirates. And I said to him exactly what the Rebbe said. The Rebbe hat gesagt, es ist schon Zeit, Tshuva zu tun. The Rebbe said, it's time for you to do Tshuva. As soon as I said those words, the pirate suddenly gave like a shake, like someone who wakes up, and he said to me one word, yes. And like the Rebbe told me, I left right away. When I got out of the pirates' property, safely, I forgot the secret code. I can't even remember part of it. And I came home. And here I am. That's the shlichus that the Rebbe gave me. How interesting, they all said. A couple of days later, they see a bunch of Yidden celebrating. Everyone is happy about something. So what happened? He says, did you hear the news? We got rid of a terrible Jew hater. And they said that this and this pirates suddenly disappeared from his house. And everyone searched for him and no one can find him. He disappeared for good. He did so much trouble to the Yidden. And now he's gone. We should celebrate. It's such a special thing. A while passed, and one day the door to the Tzemach Tzedek's shul opened, and in walks a beggar, dressed in torn and worn out clothing, looked like he didn't have a haircut for a very long time, takes a seat in the corner of the shul, didn't speak a word to anyone, and was sitting there learning, davening, saying Tehillim. Day and night he was in the shul. And when people put food down for him to eat or drinks, he only took a little bit. Most of the time he was fasting, taking upon himself different kind of suffering, like a real Baal Tshuva. Nobody recognized him except for a few people who understood who he is. And they were whispering between themselves. David surely recognized him. Who do you think it was? The pirates, of course. The pirates did Tshuva. But then, a group of Chassidim who heard about this, they came to the Tzemach Tzedek. And they said, with tears in their eyes, they meant it so seriously, Rebbe, you were able to help someone who was such a Rasha to become a real Baal Tshuva. You helped him and just so easily. It didn't take much. So why is it so hard for us? Why is it so hard for us to become better? We have to work so hard to work on tikkun on neshama, to fix our neshama, to make better, that we should be better. Why can't the Rebbe give us also something easy? So the Rebbe smiled to them and said, I'll give you a mashal, and I'm sure you'll understand the nimshal. A shepherd took his sheep for a drink at the lake. But you know how sheep are. Some of them can run out of the line, take a crooked path. Some of them can run up the mountain. Some of them can run into a valley. What does the shepherd do in such a case? Does he run after each and every sheep and bring him back? No. All he does is either he speaks or he gives a scream, a shout, or sometimes, if he has to, he throws a pebble, a little rock, and the sheep gets back in line. But why can't he go to each one of them? You know why? Because he'll use all of his energy. He won't be able to be a shepherd anymore. So that's why it's enough. Just a word here, a rock, something. But what if a sheep falls into a pit and is stuck? What does the shepherd do then? Then he himself has to go, roll up his sleeves, and go help him get out. No? You guys understand the nimshal? We can surely understand. The Rebbe is always taking care of us. We're like the regular sheep. And once in a while, we have to go back in line. So you learn a mimer, you learn a sicha, you hear a dvar Torah, something that pushes back online. But if a yid chas v'shalom gets stuck, then the Rebbe himself helps him come back home. This shows us how much the Rebbe cares for every single one of us. The connection we have with the Rebbe. And therefore, as we're getting closer to Yud Aleph Nisan, we should try our best. Do something extra. Don't wait for Yud Aleph Nisan. You start right away. But also take a hachlata, something you're going to do extra special in connection with Yud Aleph Nisan. Maybe it would help that Yud Aleph Nisan will be, before Yud Aleph Nisan comes, we'll have already the Geula. We'll be able to have a big Verbringen together with Mashiach Tzidkenu. Seid gesund.